Yunting was stunned. Since she brought Su Yan back to extinct Ice Island, she has never seen Su Yan smile in the nearly 30 years so far. Today is the first time. This sudden blooming smile formed a diametrically opposite contrast to the cold and aloofness before, and in combination with Su Yan's flawless beauty, Yunting was slightly lost for a moment. She couldn't help but sigh. Soon, Yunting dispelled the distracting thoughts, and asked with a gloomy face, "You actually have a man, since when is it?" "It was a long time before I met Honored Master." "Have you ever had a skin relationship with him?" Yunting continued to ask. An intoxicating red appeared on Su Yan's cheeks, and she nodded slightly. Yunting's body trembled, as if she had lost her strength. She fell back 2 steps, with an obvious disappointment in her eyes, and said in pain, "Why didn't you talk about this kind of thing earlier?" "Honored Master never asked." Su Yan bit her red lips slightly. Yunting said, "I didn't ask. It's because your aura is pure. The Master thought you were a virgin. But since you have been intimate with a man, why is your aura not cloudy?" Once a woman has had close contact with a man, there will definitely be some masculine aura belonging to a man in her body, which is enough to break the pure cleanness. Su Yan's aura is extremely clean, and it is not stained. Yunting can't even dream that she is no longer a virgin. Is it because of her special physique? It is also possible that Su Yan's physique was obviously not born congenital. It was formed later. Perhaps when her physique was formed, her aura became clean. So I don't know about it. Yunting gritted her teeth and shout. The disciple disappointed the Honored Master. Su Yan lowered her eyes. If I knew about this, it would definitely be impossible for you to cultivate Ice Jade technique. Yunting was heartbroken. Her huge expectations turned into disappointment, and said with red eyes, "Do you know that once you cultivate Ice Jade technique, you will surely encounter the cultivation technique backlash if you are emotional? Now the situation is still mild. If you continue to do this, you will lose all your Saint Yuan. You will eventually become a useless person." Disciples don't know. Su Yan shook her head. But there is no fear. She came to extinct Ice Island and paid her respects to Yunting. Whatever Yunting asked her to cultivate, she would naturally cultivate. Where can she ask more? Until a few days ago, there was a problem with the cultivation. She only noticed it then. Yunting's expression changed. Realizing the seriousness of the problem, although she was greatly disappointed in Su Yan's concealment of her love history, she was still very optimistic about her disciple. Anxiously said, "Su Yan, it's not too late. You must cut the mess quickly and cut off your feelings. Otherwise, your cultivation level will get lower and lower, and you will eventually become an ordinary person. I can't save you either. Cut off the love thread." Su Yan raised her eyes and looked towards Yunting, with a strange light shining in her beautiful eyes, and slowly but firmly shook her head and said, "Honored Master, forgive the sin. Disciples will not do this." "You." Yunting was mad, pointing at Su Yan, unable to say a word. Su Yan smiled again. "If I can meet him again, even if the disciple becomes an ordinary person, I will be willing." Yunting looked dazed, staring at Su Yan blankly. "This is what you really said? You won't regret it." Su Yan nodded. "Have you ever thought that this is just a momentary pleasure? If you really become an ordinary person, your lifespan will be less than 100 years. In the end, you'll become old. Which man will be interested in you? Maybe the man you are looking for will leave you eventually." Su Yan's body trembled, and there was a hint of fear in her beautiful eyes. As soon as Yunting saw her expression, she knew that there was a play. She was about to strike while the iron was hot. She was fascinating, but the fear in Su Yan's eyes dissipated. She stretched out her hand and stroked the hair to her ear. Su Yan said softly, "The disciple is willing. Before I grow old, the disciple will leave, and he will not be allowed to see the appearance of the disciple." "Are you mad at me?" Yunting's chest was violently up and down. She had never discovered that her disciple had such a stubborn and unreasonable side. "Honored Master, I want to go out," Su Yan said solemnly. "Do you want to go out to find that man?" Ranyunting looked at her coldly. Before, she thought Su Yan wanted to go out and cultivate in order to break through the bottleneck in front of her, but now, how could she doesn't know the true purpose of her disciple? She was obviously going to find the trace of the person in the painting. Yes, please honored master to let me fulfill it. Su Yan did not deny. Wishful thinking. Ranyunting snorted coldly. During this period of time, you will stay on the inner island and never take a step out of the inner island. The teacher will find a way to solve the current difficulties for you. I hope you will not let the teacher down again. Honored master. Su Yan was anxious. Ranyunting snorted coldly, and shouted sharply, come here. Two women walked in immediately outside the door. Both of them had the cultivation level of first order void return stage, and they clasped their fists together and said, what is the command of the Great Elder? Take Su Yan down for me, and watch her carefully. If she dares to leave her residence for a while, I will ask you all to stop her. The two women glanced at each other with inexplicable expressions. They didn't know what Su Yan did, and the Great Elder was so angry. You should note the Great Elder had always been proud of Su Yan before, and countless times in front of outsiders declared that the most correct decision she had made in her life was to accept Su Yan as a disciple. Su Yan will definitely become the first candidate for the glory of Iceheart Valley. But now, Ranyunting is obviously irritated, and even starts to put Su Yan under house arrest. What happened? The two women didn't dare to ask more. They just glanced at Su Yan thoughtfully and said, Junior sister Su, please. Honored master. Su Yan looked at Ranyunting beggingly, hoping she could change her mind. Take her down. Ranyunting turned her back to Su Yan, sternly, as if she never wanted to see her again. Junior sister Su, please don't make us embarrassed. Among the two girls, a taller woman frowned and urged impatiently. Su Yan looked at Ranyunting's back and sighed softly, knowing that it didn't work anymore, so she could only give a salute, turned and left. Soon, only Ranyunting was left in the ice room. She stared at the portrait hanging on the ice wall with fiery eyes. Her stern gaze seemed to cut the person on the painting with thousands of swords, and suddenly raised her palm to strike forward. With a bang, the portrait instantly turned into powder. Boy, don't fall into the hands of this palace master, or you will be broken into pieces. Ranyunting secretly felt fierce in her heart. As long as Su Yan still has a little regret, she will immediately kill Yongkai and get rid of Su Yan's heart demon. Su Yan didn't want to cut off her love, so she should do it for her as he honored master. As long as the man dies, Su Yan will have no obstacles on her way forward, nor will she be backlashed by ice jade cultivation. Perhaps she will be silent and sad for a while, but Ranyunting believes that as time goes by, Su Yan will only be grateful to herself but will not present herself. After thinking for a while, Ranyunting quickly left her ice room and headed to the ice peak where the Supreme Elder retreats. She has to ask the Supreme Elder about this matter. She is actually not sure whether this method is effective. If the Supreme Elder nodded, there would be no more worries. In the inner island of Extinct Ice Island, ice roads crisscross, leading to all directions. Many female disciples of Iceheart Valley are walking, and the buildings on Extinct Ice Island are also unique, like being carved from ice crystal clear, giving off chill everywhere. Su Yan walked on the ice road in despair, walking towards her ice room step by step. The two female disciples who were in charge of guarding her followed closely behind her every step of the way. Their eyes met and communicates with their spiritual mind. Senior Sister Jo, what exactly did Su Yan do that made the Great Elder so angry? The shorter woman asked suspiciously. The taller Senior Sister Jo coldly snorted. The Great Elder didn't tell me. How did I know it? But this matter is not trivial, otherwise the Great Elder won't have to put Su Yan under house arrest. HMPH, the little girl doesn't know how high the world is. Since she entered Iceheart Valley, she always keep her eyes above the top, never put us seniors in the eyes. Even if we meet, she don't come to say hello, there is no courtesy. Yeah, isn't she just being pampered by the Great Elder? The petite woman smiled. Now she has angered the Great Elder, and it looks like she is falling out of favor. Let's see how arrogant she can be in the future. As a senior sister, it's time to teach her how to behave. The two looked at each other and smiled knowingly. They only felt happy. The sky today looks a little different from the past. When she was walking, Su-yan suddenly stopped, her eyes suddenly brightened, she looked in one direction, and immediately, she shook her body and disappeared where she was. The expressions of the two women who had been following her changed, thinking that Su-yan was going to run away, but when she turned her head to see, she actually ran to a few of her colleagues. "What's the matter?" The woman surnamed Jo showed an unhappy expression and hurried to the other side. There were a few ice-heart-belly disciples who were talking in low voices. At this moment, they all looked puzzled. They didn't understand why Su-yan suddenly ran over. The leading woman had a powerful cultivation level off the third-order void return stage, frowning and looking at Su-yan, and said in amazement, "Are you the disciple Su-yan under Great Elder?" "She is Su-yan? I heard that she was a third-order saint stage when she joined the sect, and now less than 30 years, she's almost at the level of second-order void return stage. I have also heard of her, she turned out to look like this." Several women came to look at Su-yan up and down, as if seeing her for the first time. "Yes," Su-yan nodded, "I have seen a few senior sisters." "Well, are you okay?" the leading woman asked. "I just heard several senior sisters discussing this, the person on the painting, have you seen him?" Su-yan pointed to the portrait held by the leading woman. "You mean this guy?" The woman raised the portrait and chuckled, "I have seen him." Su-yan's eyes lit up and asked anxiously, "When did the senior sister meet him? Is he okay?" To be continued.